There come a time when, Matthew, that you became aware of this, of lies that were being spread, told about your family, as being actors, as part of a hoax, as part of conspiracy, things like your sister never existed.
So several days, I think it was the weekend after Sandy Hook, the president came to Newtown and met with all the families and then had a press conference where he said that my sister was a hero. And I remember posting on Facebook, being 15, thinking that I was only posting to my 30 friends that I had, but somehow the post was shared 900 times and it had 40,000 likes. And going through those comments, there was comments on that post saying that I wasn't real, saying that she wasn't real, and that my family wasn't real. And that was the weekend after, and as a 15-year-old, I had no idea how to process that or how to deal with that.
So that when you say likes, because we have different generations in this courtroom, were they all people who were liking things, or were they?
No, this was before Facebook had the multiple options for the dislike or the hate comment or anything like that. So it was them engaging with the post so they can share it to their followers.
Did you put that post on because you were proud?
I did. I had no idea where it would go. I thought I was only talking to my friends, and I thought I was expressing how I just felt hearing someone in a very powerful position call my sister a hero.
Was it comforting to hear the president call your sister a hero at a time when I imagine you must be terribly grieving?
It was.
Was that comforting to you?
It was.
And did that temporarily at least help you confront your grief? The president's comments?
It did momentarily.
From that moment till today, has that type of thing ever gone away? The type of things that you were exposed to way back in the day or two after the shooting?
Objection vague.
Sustained.
Have you continued, Matthew, for the last nearly 10 years to receive harassment, be exposed to the infection of these lies told by Alex Jones?
Yes.
Com.
Yes.
Has it ever gone away?
No. Anytime there's another shooting or anytime someone says something, our social medias are flooded with another batch of comments.
And if that happens every time there's a shooting, that happens about every 6 months in America?
A little bit more frequently than that.
Now, can you tell the jury, you were following in your sister's footsteps and you pursued an education in education, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell the jury about that?
I went to Southern Connecticut State University and pursued a bachelor's in English and education for the last few years. I graduated 2 years ago.
Okay, and along the way in your education, how many years total do you have to put in to get that degree?
4 to 5.
Okay, and have you encountered people infected by the Alex Jones lies along the way of your education?
Argumentative.
I don't think so, Judge.
Overruled.
Yes, and I would say it started before I even went to college.
Can you tell the jury about that?
When I was still in high school, I was 15 when it happened, so I was a sophomore. And I remember going back to school, I believe it was early January, of 2013, and I was in the cafeteria, and someone came up to me and said, "Are you real? Is your family real? Did your sister really die?" And I can remember just staring at them and not knowing how to respond, because I was at school. I wasn't supposed to be dealing with this here. I was supposed to be amongst friends, amongst peers, amongst people in Stratford that knew my sister, knew that she had walked the same halls that they're in, had known that she was real. But this was someone at my school asking something so personal that they shouldn't have been asking. I remember I went down, I don't even remember what I said to the person, but I went down to my guidance counselor's office, and I sat in his office, and I had a panic attack for hours. And I can just remember him telling me, just trying to distract me about anything, and telling me a story about how a bear had gotten into his garbage the night before, just to try to distract me from thinking about the fact that my peers are questioning whether or not my family is real, whether or not I'm real. And that stayed with me, and I had a very hard time continuing school. I had to spend most of sophomore year and junior year homeschooled because I was afraid that something like that would happen again.
How long has your family been in the community of Stratford?
All our lives.
How does it date back to?
It dates before Vicki. I think my mom and dad settled in Stratford probably almost 40 years ago.
40?
Mm-hmm.
And you consider Stratford home, your home?
Yes.
It's your community, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And that was your school?
Mm-hmm.
Your high school, right? I probably should say yes or no.
Yes, it was my high school.
Had you ever, and this was after Vicki died, obviously, right?
Yes.
And so you went back to school after Vicki died?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And then this happened.
Yes.
Was this the same year of the shooting, or was it?
Yes, it was. It was in January of 2013.
Okay. Was it hard for you to go back to school after the shooting?
Yes, it was. I've been diagnosed since with PTSD, and I was fearful of being in a classroom environment after everything had happened, because I was just constantly waiting for it to happen there.
And when you finally mustered up the courage to go back, did you feel comfortable enough to do that?
No, I still wasn't comfortable to go back, but I knew I had to go back at some point.
So you were vulnerable at that time.
Objection, leading.
Withdrawn. So that was high school, and at some point, did you manage to go back to school, high school, and finish high school?
I did. I went back my senior year and was able to finish full time.
Okay. And then did there come any other instances in your education in which you were exposed or had to confront somebody infected with the Alex Jones lies?
Yes. When I was at Southern, I was in a History 101 class, and the first day the professor was going over the syllabus, going over what we had been covering, and got to the topic of media and got to the topic of current events. And he asked the question, how many of you think Sandy Hook actually happened? And I was sitting in the room, and I had a panic attack immediately because I saw my classmates raise their hand and not everyone raised their hand. So I knew I was sitting in a room with people that thought that I wasn't real, that my sister wasn't real. And I got up and I left, and I dropped out of that class. And it was a very hard thing for me to go back to school even that week.
Was this your first year of college?
No, this was my second year of college.
Second year of college. So this would have been in what year?
2017, 2018.
And this may seem like a trivial question, in a lot of ways it is, but did you have to, you had paid for that,
Yes.
and did you get reimbursed or no?
No. It was past the point where I could get reimbursed for the class. I dropped it and lost the money and didn't get credit.
But you were able to go back to school and get your degree.
I was. I was able to take that class over again with a different professor and passed it.
Can you describe for the jury how, if the exposure over these going on 10 years to this kind of the lies and the people infected by Alex Jones' lies, what that's done to you? How would you explain whether the changes that you've had to? Sorry, you kind of tripped me up with this stuff. How can you just explain to the jury whether you've changed, you think, in response to all of this?
I definitely think that I've changed. At the beginning, I didn't know that my words had power, and I saw that with my post that kind of got a lot of likes and got attention for somewhat the wrong reason. After I saw that, I immediately changed all privacy settings, immediately hunkered down on all social medias, and didn't let that part out into the world. There are still times where if people will ask me about Vicki, I'll deny that I'm her brother, or I just won't answer because I don't know who they are. There are times where, you know, we have a successful 5K that we've been going on for 10 years now, and we have a lot of shirts that we have and they all say her name on it, and I don't like even wearing those shirts out in public anymore because I don't know who's gonna see it and who's gonna say something to me about it, and I don't know if they're gonna say something nice or if they're gonna be mean about it.
And has it affected your comfort in meeting new people and social situations?
It has, and especially with me being a teacher, it's one of my biggest fears that my students will Google me and see things like this and bring those questions into the classroom.
I think your students are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
No further questions.